you don't lack the willpower or discipline. That's not the issue. The issue is you've been waiting to feel like doing it. And you're never going to feel like doing it because this is what you've always done. And so expect the resistance to be there. And you can use the 5-second rule. That's why I invented the thing.
Tell us about that. What's the 5-second rule?
So the 5-second rule.
You wrote a book about it.
I did. I did. The 5-second rule is a brain hack that I created in a moment of desperation because, like everybody, I didn't feel like doing the things I needed to do to address the problems in my life. It was 2007. My husband and I were $800,000 in debt. His restaurant business was failing. I had lost my job. Our entire life was what we put on the line to start the restaurant business. We had 3 kids under the age of 10. We were living in a fancy suburb outside of Boston, Massachusetts. And we were about to lose everything. Checks were bouncing left and right. I was unemployed. Chris had not been paid in 6 months. Friends and family had invested in the business, so we couldn't really tell anybody how bad it was.
Oy.
And at 41, Dr. Hyman, I found myself in a situation where I didn't even recognize myself. Like I never thought that this would be what happened to my life. And I faced my issues and our problems by drinking myself into the ground, screaming at Chris, and blaming everything on him, and basically sleeping in, hitting the snooze button 5 times. The kids were missing the bus. Like it was, and here's the irony is that even when you're in a crisis, you know what you should do.
So there's some part of yourself that knew.
Of course. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that you should get your ass out of bed and get a job.
Get the kids breakfast.
Yeah, and the drinking isn't helping. And maybe you should tell somebody what's going on. Maybe you should ask for help. Maybe you should get outside and take a walk. Like this isn't PhD material level crap that you need to do. But I couldn't make myself do it. Why? Because I didn't feel like it. And when you start to blow off the little things, like getting up on time, eating healthy, practicing kindness to yourself, staying connected, asking for help. When you start to get the little things wrong, it just snowballs into everything being wrong. And the good news is the way that you get back on track, and this is also what you believe and what your research and your work demonstrates, is that you get your life back on track. You get your health back on track. You reset your mind and the default ways that you think the exact same way by getting the little things right. Because when you get up, when the alarm rings, your brain sees a human being that has the willpower to get up. When you make your bed in the morning, your brain sees a human being that completes things. When you walk into the bathroom and you look in the mirror and you don't criticize yourself, but you give yourself a high five in the mirror, which is something I call the high five habit.
Another book.
Yeah. You literally activates neural pathways in your brain around positive encouragement towards self. You know, when you journal, when you meditate, when you move your body, your brain sees a human being that prioritizes themselves. So it's through the actions, the teeny little actions that snowball into massive transformation. And so one night, it was Tuesday. It was a Monday night in 2008. I mean, it was bad. We were a week away from a bankruptcy proceeding. Liens on the house. Chris and I fighting like cats and dogs. And I'm sitting in my living room and I'm like, Mel, you got to pull this shit together. Like tomorrow it's the new you, woman. You got to get up. You got to be nice to Chris. You got to look for a job. You got to get out, get those kids on the bus. You got to do it all. And what happened is I all of a sudden saw a rocket ship launch across the television screen. And I thought, that's it. That's like the answer.
Literally watched.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is the dumbest story. I was 4 bourbon Manhattans into the evening. So it was probably the alcohol that made me make the connection. But I was like, that's it. Tomorrow morning when the alarm goes off, you're going to launch yourself out of bed so fast, just like NASA launches a rocket, that you're not going to be in that bed, Mel, when the anxiety and the depression hit. Because I was having cascading panic attacks, like generalized at this point. So the next morning, the alarm rings. And all I did was count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I stood up. And that one decision changed the trajectory of my life. And what I had discovered by mistake during one of the worst moments of my life is the single most powerful starting ritual, which is what habit researchers and neuroscientists call a technique, metacognition, that you can use to interrupt old habit loops stored in the basal ganglia. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 interrupts that encoded pattern, and it draws your focus to the prefrontal cortex, giving you a manual way to switch gears between autopilot, subconscious, trauma patterns, all of it, and activate the part of the brain that helps you change, that helps you learn new behavior, that helps you take control. The 5-second rule has now spread.
That sounds like a holy grail.
Oh, it is the holy grail. It's now being used in clinical settings with pediatricians. It's profoundly effective with OCD and PTSD. I had an entire inpatient wing, the medical staff in a Philadelphia hospital, come and tell us that of all the things that they can give somebody on discharge after an inpatient commit, the 5-second rule is probably the most effective thing. Because,
so break it down. What is the 5-second rule?
So the 5-second rule is any moment where you know what you should do, but you feel the feeling come up: hesitation, anxiety, fear, heaviness, trauma, whatever it may be that causes that momentary hesitation. If you don't physically move within 5 seconds of that moment of hesitation, the subconscious part of your brain takes over.
To physically move.
You got to physically move. And so there's this window, this 5-second window. Psychologists call this the difference between a bias toward thinking versus a bias toward action. And many of us, especially if we're analytical or we're introverted or we struggle with anxiety or ADHD or depression or a whole trauma, we have a bias towards stopping to think and consider what to do versus doing what we need to do. And I'm talking about these windows of time where you're sitting in a meeting at work. You have an idea to share.
Yeah. And you don't say it.
Correct. And you wonder why you're getting passed over at work. You wonder why you're not getting promoted. It's because you're not visible. And it comes down to these moments. Same thing at home. There's things you want to say. There's hard conversations to have. Or what about exercise? The hardest part is getting out the door.
As my mother used to say, the minute I get the urge to exercise, I lie down till it goes away.
Yes. Yes. Well, you don't even have to lie down because it goes away if you don't move within 5 seconds.
She was an expert at that.
Yeah. And so, how you use it is in these moments, or like addiction. It's profoundly effective with addiction because you feel yourself drawn towards something. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, count backwards, physically move away from the thing.
So you just literally just say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then get your body up and go to the other room.
And here's the cool trick.
You don't have to do jumping jacks or stand on your head or anything.
No, here's the cool trick. Counting backwards is an action.
Yeah.
So it's like a Trojan horse, because let's face it, putting down the alcohol is difficult. It feels hard. You don't want to. You have this neurochemical draw to it. When you start counting backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you've actually made a decision not to do it. So the counting is like the first domino that falls, and then you turn. And now you're moving in a different direction. And so the 5-second rule became a tool that I used to push myself through the feelings and anxiety and depression and sadness and anger and grief and all the bullshit feelings that are very real.
Yeah.
That dictate what you do.
Well, you were in a really tough situation, and it's understandable why you felt how you felt.
Yes.
And you could choose one of two things: either to just go back to bed and not deal with it, or wake up and deal with it.
Yeah. But we make 30,000 decisions a day, and the vast majority of them we make with our subconscious. And if you want to become a different person, you have to make intentional decisions that are aligned with the kind of person that you want to become. If you want to follow all of Dr. Hyman's advice, you have to make different decisions. And so counting backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is a tool that you can use to activate the part of the brain that you need to consciously make different decisions. And there's even more involved here because, there's this famous researcher, Dr. Judith Willis out at UCLA.
Yeah. And
she has studied the impact that the nervous system has on decision-making. And what she has discovered is that when your fight or flight sympathetic nervous system is activated, so in situations where you're procrastinating, that's a fight or flight nervous system. Because
Interesting.
procrastination is a freeze.
Yeah.
Alert.
Freeze, right.
Yeah.
Fight or flight.
And freeze.
Freeze.
Yes.
Right.
And anxiety or nerves or nervousness or depression, if you're in any, or just even worrying and overthinking, your sympathetic nervous system is now flipped on. Your prefrontal cortex, according to the research at UCLA, Dr. Judith Willis, your prefrontal cortex does not function in its full capacity when your alarm state is triggered.
No, it can't.
It can't.
Yeah.
And so
there's often a disconnect between the limbic system, which is the reptile lizard being stress response, and the frontal plane, which is the adult in the room. And so you see why this person's an adult, but why are they acting like a lizard?
Yes. Yes. And so when you count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, the decision to count backwards is a moment of taking control. And the counting itself is what activates the prefrontal cortex so that you make the choice to go walk outside, so that you then lower your nervous system stress, and then you could come back to what you need to do. And so it's profoundly effective with addiction, with suicidal ideation, with procrastination, with making more money. Because you're not going to make more money if you're not willing to make the sales calls. You can sit there and think about making them all damn day long. And so it's changed the lives of millions of people. It's just, and I love it because it's free. Anybody at any age can use it. Anybody in any language. Just don't count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It doesn't work.
You have to count down.
You have to, because we have been taught to count up since we were little. So the act of counting up already happens in your subconscious.
Yeah.
Counting backwards in the beginning, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You have to think about it.
Correct.
Yeah.
The more you use it, you are encoding a habit of taking action, a habit of courage, a habit of confidence, a habit of betting on yourself. And so it becomes innate.
If you love that last video, you're going to love the next one. Check it out here.